I'm in the Peak District, one of the most spectacular and best-loved wild places in the British Isles.
You know, we always hear about the wonderful biodiversity of the tropical rainforest or the tropical reef. But if you come up into the uplands of Britain, we have our own equivalent, the Heather Moor. This is an incredible environment that simply teems with life.
I've been hugely lucky travelling the world, visiting many of the planet's most astonishing sights, yet the British Isles remains my favourite wildlife hotspot. In this series, I'm taking a look at the different habitats that make up our unique landscape. And this week, I've come to one of our most important areas of natural beauty, the mighty Peak District.
While I'm here, I'm hoping that I might catch a glimpse of the mountain hare, and I want to catch up with red grouse up here on the moors. But you know, with an environment as rich as this, there's every chance that I might be surprised by something else.
The Peak District stretches for over 550 square miles, straddling 6 counties at the southern end of the Pennines. It's divided into 2 parts. In the south is the White Peak, a vast plateau of limestone covered in rolling farmland decorated with dry stone walls. To the north, west and east is the Dark Peak. Here, with its gritstone edges and peaty moors, there's a wilder, more remote feel, and it's the perfect place for me to explore these spectacular heather moors.
It's so easy to walk across areas like this and just see the heather, and not realise that there's a whole ecosystem here that's quite unique and very well adapted to this environment. There's a lot going on. There's a curlew in the distance calling. That boy. That's lovely to see. And their camouflage is amazing. For me, this is a real joy because I spend nearly all my time in woodland. So to be able to come out onto the moors like this and have such a wonderful view is quite special. 2 lambs suckling on a ewe there, their tails wagging, they're really happy.
By late summer, these hillsides will be cloaked in swathes of vibrant purple. Heather is actually rarer than rainforest, and 75% of the world's supply is found here in Britain. This precious habitat is a vital breeding ground for a wonderful variety of bird life.
2 golden plovers there in their breeding plumage. Beautiful. Marcus, is like they got their best bib and tucker on. It's almost their equivalent of a dinner suit compared to the winter plumage.
One species in particular is almost entirely dependent on the heather for its survival, the plump and rather indignant red grouse.
Now that I've stopped, they're all popping up to have a little look. They can't resist having a look to see. Their heads come up like periscopes above the heather. It's fantastic to watch. I love the colour, that rusty brown colouring is really something. The male bird with a very distinctive bright orange flash above his eye. The hen bird has a very more delicate version just above hers, and there are chicks. They've been around for a couple of weeks, I would think. They're inquisitive and exploring the world, but still not straying too far from mum. It's just lovely to see how the heather is their home, it's their food source, it's their nursery. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to observe. And of course, a grouse moor like this is absolutely full of life. It's its own ecosystem.
The heather isn't just cover and a place for the red grouse to raise their young. It's actually part of their food source as well. And if you take a look at this heather sprig here, It's these young buds here that they like to eat.
Heather is one of just a few plants that can survive on this peaty and infertile acidic soil. Without careful management, it quickly forms dense woody stems with no nutritional value. In fact, red grouse are largely the reason these heather moors exist. In order to keep a healthy supply of grouse for shooting, moor keepers carry out heather burning to keep the plants young and vigorous. At the same time, they carefully preserve areas of older plants for the red grouse and other wildlife to nest in, giving the peaks their distinctive patchwork look. The red grouse have to share this favourite food supply with another upland creature that is also specialised in feeding on the poor vegetation.
Now there's a mountain hare. You've got that white stripe on the back of the ear and the white tail. And of course, these hares in the winter, they change their coat to the white pelage for protection and camouflage when there's snow on the ground.
The mountain hare's tail stays white all year, so you can easily distinguish it from its cousin, the brown hare. Its face and body are also shorter and rounder, the smaller surface area helping to reduce heat loss in the cold uplands.
Sometimes when they run and you look at their fur, it kind of shimmers. I'm not sure whether the fur's longer than an ordinary hare's, but it's got a different quality.
They're usually found at mountainous altitudes where food is scarce. Like all hares and rabbits, they eat their own droppings. By eating everything twice, they can extract every ounce of nutrition. In these vast open areas, it's hard to ignore the sheer beauty and scale of the peaks themselves. But if you take the time to look closely, you'll see a host of dramas being played out by the animals that make up this ecosystem. Patrolling the skies is the spectacular short-eared owl. This skilled predator is one of the few owl species that is active during the day, when you can often see it swooping low or hovering over the dense heather in its hunt for field voles. RSPB Species Protection Officer Tim Melling has offered to take me to a spot where we can get a good view of these wonderful birds.
Tim, these so-called short ears, they're not ears at all, are they?
No, they're just tufts of feathers that they use for display. When they're agitated or they're being aggressive towards another short-eared owl, they raise them up and you can actually see them like little ear tufts, but they're not ear tufts at all. No, the real ears are actually on either side of the head. They're asymmetrical. They've got one much higher than the other.
Is that for judging distance?
Yes, it does. It really facilitates the distance in noise when they listen for the rustles or the squeak of a vole.
With one ear lower than the other, the sounds from a vole rustling in the undergrowth will reach each ear at a slightly different time, allowing the owl to pinpoint the vole's location with extreme accuracy.
He's coming in low now over there. Now that is sort of hunting height. So he's just landed, hasn't he?
Yeah, he went down on something.
Yeah, I could see that it thrust its head forward and the talons came out.
I could see the vole very clearly. He's picked it up.
This one has just managed to catch one. On the right, I can just make out a smaller owl. It's likely it's a fledgling still nesting on the ground, and the adult has brought the vole back to feed it.
Here he goes.
Oh yeah.
Without the vole.
Without the vole.
It's mainly voles they eat, isn't it?
It's about 87% short-tailed field voles that they eat, about 5% mice, about 5% shrews, which surprises me because there's practically nothing eats shrews because they're so distasteful. And
You're making that sound like a recipe. Very, very stiff-winged flying.
yes. Oh, I did that. Did you see? He did the other one then. The wing clap.
Yeah.
He claps his wings really fast and then just drops like a stone. He did it 2 or 3 times there.
They have the most incredibly vivid I guess you're a chrome yellow eye, isn't it? It's
Oh, yeah.
bright yellow.
It is even more yellow than a number plate on a car, isn't it? And it shines in the sunshine as well. You can see it at such great distance.
And I've been able to pick it up very, very clearly through the telescope here.
When they don't want to draw attention to the nest with that superb plumage, those yellow eyes stand out like a beacon. So what she does is she always closes her eyes, not completely,
Squints.
just squints, yes. So you can't see the yellow at all, just the pupil there.
They've got this very, it's hard to describe, imperious look. They remind me a little bit of pictures of Napoleon. They've got like
Yes.
puffed out chest, and the way they look around, I'm in charge. That's
And they certainly are in charge on this moor.
In part 2, I'll be heading 20 miles south to find out about the fascinating wildlife that lives in the limestone uplands of the White Peak, including the rare great crested newt and a master of disguise, the caddisfly. I've come to the White Peak in the Peak District National Park. This is one of Britain's favourite wild outdoor spaces, and I'm here to explore the creatures and plants that live in this beautiful landscape.
I just love the diversity of British weather. This is June. You just always have to be prepared, don't you? But of course, rain is a vital part of nature. This is the lifeblood of all the plants and the wildlife around us. We can't live without it. And here in this disused quarry, it's already playing a vital role. You can see down the bottom there's a pond. I find it fascinating, the speed with which nature will reclaim land that's been damaged and regenerate it. It's quite inspiring, really. And I'm sure that in that pond, there's going to be all sorts of wildlife.
Most of these dew ponds in the Peak District are found here in the White Peak. They're an important habitat for amphibians, so it's no surprise this is where I find Chris Monk, Derbyshire's amphibian recorder.
Hey Chris, how are you getting on?
Oh, morning,
my
mate.
goodness, look at that.
Chris has a special license to catch these rare great crested newts in order to monitor them.
Incredible.
These are a couple of great crested newt females. They would have been laying their eggs up until a few weeks ago, mostly in April and May.
How do you tell the difference between the male and the females?
The males have much broader tails and they have the crest in the breeding season. That disappears once the breeding season is over.
How did they come to be here in the pond?
Well, when this area was, in medieval time, was turned over to sheep pasture and farms and things spread up onto this area of the limestone plateau, the only way they could have livestock up here was to do lots of field ponds. So there was lots of clay-lined field ponds, dew ponds, some of which are still around today. And basically the newts just use them as stepping stones to come up from the river valleys up onto these sorts of areas.
It's fascinating, isn't it, in that our older ways of working with the land still provided habitat for wild things. And what's the purpose of this incredibly bright colouring?
It's thought to possibly be a warning coloration in the same way as things like bees and wasps have bright colours underneath, or possibly a camouflage from underneath to break up the outline of the newts when seen from underneath, so that when it's in the water.
Because they can't be eaten, they're toxic, aren't they?
Yes, so they have cells in the skin which produce a nasty tasting chemical, so the adults don't get eaten by very many things at all. The main problem is the tadpoles are very delectable for lots of things to eat because they don't have the poisons in the skin, so fish and lots of invertebrates, diving beetles, things like that will eat the tadpoles. That's what keeps the numbers down. That's why we're not overrun with great crested newts.
No. Well, I'm going to hand this female newt back to you and
We'll record her presence and put her back where she came from.
they're very good in the water, aren't they? They use the tail to swim. It's just burrowing away into the pondweed there.
It's strange to think this wildlife haven was once a bustling limestone quarry. Since Roman times, limestone has been mined from the White Peak, and the industry left the hills scarred by countless sunken holes and quarries. Since the quarrymen left just a few decades ago, nature has reclaimed the area. Richard Spowage from the Derbyshire Wildlife Trust has been monitoring the animals and flora that have made their home here in Millersdale Quarry.
Essentially, what you've got is a quarry company that just abandoned the site, left all the rubble and debris on the floor, and nature has just moved in. And the fortunate thing around here is there's been enough seed source and plant source to actually recolonise this site as a limestone grassland.
And I guess all the nooks and crannies, particularly on the cliff faces, are ideal for wildlife.
Yeah, fantastic. This quarry's got jackdaw. You also get the odd raven in quarries up here, peregrine in a couple of quarries, and even barn owl are moving back into quarry sites.
That's fantastic. The meadow ants establishing themselves here.
They're creating these incredible mounds like this one.
Look at that. All that's covered in thyme, isn't it?
Absolutely covered in wild thyme.
That's beautiful.
They've mixed up all this really fine soil they've brought up from underneath. And so you've got an incredibly well-drained little mound. And that's what the thyme is really thriving on.
What's that nest there then, Richard? That's a nest there covered in baling twine.
That's a raven's nest. They've picked the most awkward spot.
They're little rascals, aren't they?
Yeah. We used to ring the young, but that site is probably just a bit too dangerous to bring ropes over.
I really get a sense of nature just coming back with this carpet in here and then the trees, and it's taking control again and restoring things.
Yeah, and if you think if we were stood here in the 30s, it would be absolutely bustling with activity. This would be a busy working quarry, and now we're stood here with birdsong all around us and wildflowers all around us. It's just incredible what nature can do, really.
Fantastic.
The wildlife here owes much to the underlying geology of the landscape. The limestone that forms the peaks acts as a natural filter for rainwater. This lifeblood that once carved out the hills and dales now trickles through the ancient rocks to create exceptionally pure rivers and streams that provide an important habitat for a wealth of insects, birds, and water vole.
Look at that. Brown trout in a crystal clear English stream. That's poetry in motion. It's impossible to come to limestone country and not visit a river. It's one of our most cherished landscapes. Now, of course, the trout are interesting, but like so many predators, they depend on a lot of much smaller prey, and that's what I'm interested in. I want to find out about caddisfly. And to do that, I've got to meet a man down the river here who's a real expert. More than that, he used to fly fish for England, so he ought to know a thing or two about these insects.
The clear waters of the River Lathkill provide the ideal home for the caddisfly larvae, which feed on the debris in the river.
Hello, Stuart. I thought I'd find you turning stones over down here.
Well, there's always a few caddisflies to be found in this area. So it's,
And what have you found?
all types, actually. Thankfully, this river's got a massive array of different species of caddisfly. Basically, you've got two major groups. You've got the ones that live in cases, so perfect camouflage.
Yeah.
Yes, this is actually one of the caseless types. This particular one, you might like this one because this is actually the tiger of the caddisflies. This is a true hunter, and you can see actually
he's trying to bite
trying to bite my finger. I'm just pleased I'm not a blackfly larva.
Yeah.
The larvae spin silk, much like spiders, which they use to stick bits of debris around themselves, forming a protective tube that doubles up as an elaborate camouflage.
And this one's made it out of bits of sand or gravel from the bottom of the river.
That's exactly right. So that one obviously lives amongst the sand and gravel on the bottom. So after 1 year, they will actually mature. They've then got to change into a chrysalis before they actually emerge. But that gives them a lot of problems. A chrysalis it can't defend itself, so it has to find a way to actually protect its body while it's actually developing into the full adult. If it's a cased one, then quite simply, it just seals the ends of the cases up with stones and it actually matures within that. That keeps the predators out. If it's a caseless one, it has to build a small shelter, these small shelters here, and again, that protects it. It's basically built itself a wall and it's inside, totally protected.
Look at that. That it's fantastic. They've got the stonemasonry skills of the Incas, haven't they, really? I mean,
something else.
What amazes me is that nobody's really seen how he puts the last stone in. If you can imagine, how does he get the last stone actually in place? Where does he get it from?
What can they tell us about the health of the river itself?
They are key indicators to water quality, and if anything goes wrong with the water, obviously these are the first guys to actually feel it, and by actually monitoring these insects, we get a good idea of how good the water is. So if there's been any pesticides in, or if there's any problems with road runoff, these things react to it far, far sooner than a chemical test will actually tell us.
I really like it when we can find creatures in the wild that can be used as a litmus to reveal the impact that we have on environments.
Yes, yeah.
And of course this is something that families with children can go out and look for, as long as they're safe with the river, obviously.
That's how I started, taking things home in jars and looking after them and then releasing them when they hatch into the adults. But the most important thing is, as you said, it's actually the litmus. It's the actual, these are the canaries in the cages that actually help us detect what's wrong with the water and what's good with the water. Thankfully, this bit of river is absolutely pristine. You know, it's A1.
The rivers that are happy sound happy.
Yeah, it's music, basically.
It is,
yeah, that's the music of the river, and the river is happy, and that's what we love.
It's a real privilege to have spent time here surrounded by this wonderful wildlife. This constantly evolving ecosystem is a perfect example of how man and nature can work hand in hand to ensure this landscape may be enjoyed for many generations to come.
If you missed a recent episode of Wild Britain, you can watch it with ITV Player at itv.com/ITV Player or on BT Vision and Virgin Media Digital TV on demand. Jeremy Wade homes in on a Far Eastern predator which is now invading America's backyards. River Monsters is tomorrow night at 7:30, and with a new baby elephant due this year at Whipsnade Zoo, all hands are on deck there tomorrow night at 8.